The girl in chains asterisk in the middle of a busy alien market, under the light of two red suns. A young girl sat quietly in a metal cage. Her arms were bruised, her skin pale, and her silver eyes stared at the ground. She wore torn clothes and heavy chains on her wrists and ankles. She did not speak. She did not cry. She only waited. This place was called Dracker Market, a place where living beings were bought and sold like meat. Loud voices echoed through the air. Strange alien creatures shouted prices. Some laughed. Some fought. The smell of oil, sweat, and blood was everywhere. The girl was not human. She looked almost like one, but her skin had a soft glow, and her eyes had no pupils. She had been here for many years. No one knew where she came from. No one asked. To most, she was just a slave, one that nobody wanted. She was called Unit X-92, not a real name. The traders said she was broken. She didn't talk, didn't fight, didn't obey commands. Some called her cursed. Some thought she was dangerous. A few even believed she was not alive. But today, something changed. The ground shook slightly. The noise of the market grew quiet. Everyone turned to look at the tall figure walking into the market. He was not like the others. He was not covered in scales, fur, or armor. He was a human, tall, with brown skin, sharp eyes, and a long coat. He walked slowly, looking at each cage. The traders whispered among themselves. Humans were rare here. Dangerous, mysterious. Some traders had heard stories that humans could destroy planets, win wars, and never give up. Others laughed at those stories, but no one laughed now. The human stopped in front of the girl's cage. He looked at her. She did not look back. She stared at the ground. He bent down and spoke. "What's your name?" No answer. The trader came close and laughed. "She don't talk. Human. She's broken. Worth nothing. I'll give her for half price. Maybe less." The human ignored the trader. His eyes stayed on the girl. "You're not broken," he said softly. "Just hurt." She blinked slowly. That was the only sign that she heard him. The trader got impatient. "You want a fighter? Go to the next row. Got good ones there." "She's useless." The human stood up. "I'll take her." The trader looked shocked. "What? Her? Why? Because?" "No one else did," the human replied. He placed a small metal card in the trader's hand. "Credits are clean. Transfer now." The trader scanned the card and laughed. "She's yours. Don't blame me if she bites." The human opened the cage door himself. The girl did not move. "Come," he said. Still, she didn't move. He knelt. Again. This time, placing something near her, a small piece of warm bread and a bottle of water. Then he stood and walked away. For a moment, she stayed still. But the smell of the bread reached her. Her fingers slowly moved. She took the food, holding it carefully like it might vanish. She ate it slowly, as if she couldn't believe it was real. Then, quietly, she stood up and followed him. They walked through the dusty market, strange eyes watching them. Some laughed, some whispered. A few looked angry, but the human didn't care. He walked calmly, with the girl behind him, until they reached a sleek black ship. Its metal body was clean, new, and powerful looking. The door opened with a soft hiss. As they entered, a gentle voice spoke from the ship. "Welcome back, Captain. New passenger detected. Scans show malnutrition, injury, and low body heat." "She's with me," the human said. "Start medical scan, but don't touch her unless she agrees." "Understood." The ship closed its door. The girl looked. Around clean seats, soft lights, smooth walls. Everything was different from the cage, from the market, from her life. The human gave her a blanket. "You're safe here. She looked at him, confused. Why was he being kind? What did he want? He didn't chain her. He didn't shout. He didn't even ask her to obey. Eat. Rest. We'll talk later. She nodded slowly. Her body was tired, but her mind was awake. For the first time in years, she felt something. A small, strange feeling. Hope. As the ship flew into the stars, the girl sat in silence, holding the blanket tight. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but today, someone had seen her. Not as a weapon, not as a slave, just as a girl. Asterisk, the ship moved silently through space, stars passing like white dust. Inside, the girl sat on the floor, curled in. A blanket. Her eyes followed every shadow, every sound. She was not sure if this was real. No chains, no guards, no screams, just quiet. She looked at the human, the one who had bought her. He stood near a control panel, pressing buttons, checking data.com, focused.third. He hadn't asked her name again. He hadn't touched her. The ship's soft voice spoke. Meal is ready. Captain. He turned, took a small tray from the food slot, and walked toward her, slowly. No sudden moves. He placed the tray on the floor, a short distance from her. Warm soup, slice of real bread, clean water. Then he stepped back. You can eat when you're ready, he said. The girl didn't move. She remembered the rules of the market. Eat only when ordered. Don't speak unless told. Don't look in their eyes. She waited. Minutes passed. He didn't shout. The key didn't hit. Finally, hunger won. She picked up the spoon with shaking fingers. The soup was thick and warm. It tasted like nothing she remembered, because she had never tasted anything real before. The human sat across the room, watching the stars through the glass. When she finished eating, he said quietly, "There's a bed in the next room. You can sleep there if you like." She looked at him, confused. She had always slept on cold floors under metal bars. "Is it a trick?" she whispered. He didn't laugh, didn't get angry. Just looked sad. Double quotes. No. No tricks. You're free now. Her heart stopped for a second. Free. That word had no meaning for her. Not in chains, not in cages, not in screams. She didn't trust it. She didn't trust him. But that night, she walked into the small room. The bed was soft. The lights were dim. There was even a blanket. Not rough or dirty, but warm and clean. She sat on the edge of the bed for hours, afraid to lie down. Finally, her eyes closed. Sleep came like a gentle wave. And for the first time, she dreamed. The next morning, she woke up to the sound of music. Gentle, slow, human music. She stepped out and found the human cooking something in the small kitchen. "Morning," he said. "Hungry?" She nodded. He placed a plate on the table. Eggs, toast. Something sweet. She sat slowly and picked at the food. He didn't speak much. He didn't ask questions. But then he pointed to a small screen near her seat. "Can I show you something?" She looked at him with caution, then nodded once. He touched the screen. A map of the galaxy appeared. Bright stars, moving planets. Blue paths between systems. "This is space," he said. "You've been kept in one place your whole life. But space is freedom." She looked at the map, wide-eyed. So many worlds. So many colors. She pointed at a small green planet. "Is that where you're from?" He smiled. "No, that's Rixon, jungle planet. Full of strange birds. I'm from Earth. It's this one." He zoomed in. A small blue dot. "Earth," she whispered. "Yeah, you'd like it there. We're loud, messy, stubborn, but we fight for each other." She looked at him. "Why me?" He paused, "Because when I looked at you, I saw someone who wasn't given a choice. I thought maybe if I gave you one, you might choose to live." She didn't answer. Her throat felt tight. Later, she found a mirror in the hallway. She looked at her reflection and didn't recognize herself. Dirty hair, thin arms, empty eyes. But something else, too. Something small. A spark. That night. She stood by his door. He was working on the ship controls. She asked, softly, "Do I have to stay?" "No," he said. "You can leave any time. I'll drop you at the next free station." She hesitated. "Then, can I stay anyway?" He looked at her, smiled. "Of course." A few days passed. He taught her small things. How to use the screen. How to ask the ship questions. How to say her own name if she ever wanted to. One evening she asked, "Can I choose my name?" T nodded. "You can choose anything now." She thought for a long time, then said, "Call me Lyra." But in the dark, far away, a signal flashed. A red light blinked on a forgotten console deep in space. Subject X92. Status active. A voice growled, "She's alive." Another replied, "Bring her back, or burn everything." Lyra stood alone in the mirror room. The metal walls reflected soft blue light. Her new clothes fit loosely, but they were warm and clean. Her skin, once covered in dust and bruises, now showed strange glowing lines along her arms like veins. Of light under her skin. She didn't know what they were. She didn't ask, and the human didn't press her. The ship continued its slow journey through unmarked space. Each day, the human gave her space, but also small lessons. "This is a scanner," he'd say, showing her how to scan for ships. "This button calls the AI. Say ship, then speak your command." Want to learn how to pilot? She didn't say much, but she listened. She remembered. One night, she sat near the front window, watching the stars. He joined her, a cup of hot drink in his hand. "Do you remember anything before the cage?" he asked gently. Silence. She looked out at the stars for a long time before whispering, "Pain. Noise. Cold hands. Voices in my head." He waited. "They called me subject. Not child, not person, just subject." He didn't interrupt. "They gave me numbers. Tests made me do things." "What things?" Her eyes darkened. "Bad things." He nodded. "But you're not there anymore." Voice cracked. "But I remember everything." The next day, alarms rang through the ship. "Warning," the AI said. "Two ships approaching fast, not registered. Weapons active." The human moved quickly to the cockpit. Lyra followed. "Who are they?" she asked. He looked at the scanner. "Bounty hunters. Probably tracking old slave data. Someone's looking for you." Lyra froze. Her eyes flashed. The glowing veins in her arms pulsed. The human noticed, but said nothing. "Get to the back room," he told her. "I'll handle them." But she didn't move. "I'm not running anymore," she said quietly. Outside, the bounty ships locked on. One hailed them. A large alien face appeared on screen. Red eyes, sharp teeth. "You have cargo that belongs to the Empire," it growled. "She belongs to no one," the human answered. "Wrong answer." They fired. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered. The human took control, dodging fire, flying through space clouds and asteroid debris. Then, everything stopped. A quiet hum. He looked back. Lyra stood behind him, arms raised, eyes glowing. White. Outside the ship, one bounty hunter ship froze in midspace, then cracked slowly, silently, and shattered into light. The second ship turned and fled. Lyra fell to her knees. Later, she lay in the bedroom, eyes closed. The human sat nearby. "You saved us," he said. She shook her head. "I didn't want to." He was silent. She opened her eyes. "They built me to kill with thought. That's what I am." "No," he said. "That's what they made you." That's not what you are. She looked at him. What if I lose control again? Then we figure it out together. That night, she found an old file hidden deep in the ship's database. She opened it. Project Black Core. Status: terminated. Photos, videos. Her younger wires in her body, scientists in cold labs. A voice log played. Subject X92 is unstable. She refuses orders. Shows signs of emotion. Terminate and dispose. Lyra's hands shook. But then, she found something else. A stolen report, written by a rebel agent. Subject X92 is more than a weapon. She's the key. Her DNA holds the solution to the Empire's mind control tech. If she survives, she could free them all. Her heart raced. She wasn't just dangerous. She was important. She went to the human's room. He looked up from his datapad. Can't sleep. I found something, she said, about me. He listened quietly as she told him everything. When she finished, he only said one thing. You're not alone anymore, Lyra. Far across the galaxy, deep inside a steel moon, a figure watched Lyra's image on a red screen. She's active again, said a soldier. The figure leaned forward, eyes glowing with rage. Send the hunters. Double the reward. I want her alive. Lyra stood alone in the engine room, watching the quiet hum of lights pulse along the walls. Her reflection shimmered in the metal pale skin, glowing veins. Silver eyes that looked older than her face. She touched the cold steel, as if it could answer the question, echoing in her mind. What am I? The human, whose name was Commander. Rin sat in the control room, scanning a stolen Empire database. He had seen war, planets fall, people vanish. But never anything like her. Lines of code flickered on his screen. And then he found it. Project Origin, X92. Core class bioentity. Purpose, planet-level control. Status, failed. Termination ordered. His heart sank. She wasn't born. She was built. Later, he found her staring into the engine lights. Found the file, he said. I already know, she replied softly. He paused. There's more. They sat in the briefing room. The lights were dim. On the screen behind him, images flashed tubes. Scientists' cryo chambers. Screaming, she watched. Without blinking. They didn't just build you, he said. They cloned parts of hundreds of species, spliced memories, added neural control chips. You were meant to be a living weapon. But, he clicked again. Subject rejected mental conditioning. Lyra whispered, I remember. They tried to control my thoughts, but I wouldn't let them in. That's why they called you broken, he said. Her hands shook. They weren't just using me. They were afraid of me. He nodded. Because you were the only one who said no. She walked away, silent, in her room. She opened her old wounds in her mind, memories locked behind walls. And now they came. Pouring in flashes, she remembered standing in a room full of mirrors. A voice shouting, destroy the simulation. She remembered raising her hands and the world burning. Not real fire, but energy that bent walls. Shattered minds, and then silence. She collapsed. Later that night, Commander Rin stood outside her door, unsure. Then, her voice called him in. She sat curled on the bed. I'm not afraid of dying, she said. I'm afraid of killing again. He sat beside her, but didn't touch. You're not what they made you. You're what you do now. Eyes met his. Then, help me choose. The next day, they landed on a quiet moon, a rebel safe zone, hidden in the shadows of dead comets. Old friends of Rin were waiting. Fighters, hackers, engineers, people who had lost everything to the Empire. One woman, tall and sharp-eyed, stepped forward. She looked at Lyra carefully. I know you, the woman said. You were in the files. They said you were a myth, a I wish I was, Lyra replied. Rin nodded. We need answers, and maybe help. Inside the rebel base, they scanned Lyra's DNA. What they found changed everything. She's not just one of them, said the rebel doctor. She's the key. The key to what? Ren asked. To ending the Empire's neural control program. The doctor showed a 3D map of the brain. They use a hidden frequency to control soldiers, slaves, even citizens. But Lyra's brain creates a natural shield. Her cells reject the signal. If we can use her code, we can give everyone that same freedom. Lyra stared at her hands. I'm the cure, but I was born from poison. No, Rin said. You're a miracle. But outside the base, Black Ship hovered in deep orbit, watching, waiting. A voice crackled through a hidden channel. Target confirmed. Initiate silent. Strike. Bring subject X-92 in. Alive. Back at the base, Lyra stood in a quiet room looking at photos on a wall. Faces of lost rebels, names written in old ink. One picture stopped her. It showed her much younger. Standing beside a man in a black coat, she whispered, I know. This man. Rin stepped up behind her. Who is he? Oh, my creator, she said. The only one who didn't hurt me. But then the alarms rang. Enemy breach detected. Outside, ships fell from the sky like shadows. They found us, Rin growled. Lyra stepped forward. Not scared. I'll face them. You don't have to, Rin said. But I will, she replied. Because this time, it's my choice. The rebel base shook like a dying heart. Red lights flashed across metal walls. Sirens screamed warnings. Outside, black ships tore through the sky like hungry wolves. Lyra stood still, not afraid, not angry, just ready. Commander Rin pulled her. Toward the escape tunnel. We don't fight them here. They're not after the base. They're after you. She didn't move. If I keep running, people will keep dying. You're not ready to face them, he said. She looked him in the eyes. Then, teach me how. On the run, he paused, then nodded. As they ran through the emergency tunnel, the base began to collapse behind them. Explosions cracked open steel. Smoke filled the air. Rebel soldiers fought to hold the entrance, buying seconds. Lyra turned back once. The rebel woman, the one who believed in her, gave a final salute. Then the blast took her inside the ship. Lyra sat silently, shaking, not from fear. From guilt, I brought death with me, she whispered. Rin's voice was calm, but firm. No, they brought it. You didn't ask to be hunted. But I'm the reason. He looked at her. Then live. That's how you beat them. Outside, 3 black Empire ships chased them across a dead moon. The stars above were sharp like blades. The air burned from the heat of engines. Inside, the AI warned, shields down to 42%. Enemy ships gaining. Lyra closed her eyes, focused. She could feel them, not with sight, not with sound, but like heat in her bones, like gravity in her mind. They're reading my signal, she said. They're tracking me like a beacon. Rin cursed. Then we need to make you vanish. How? He opened a panel. Inside a small black device. This is a neural scrambler. It'll hide you, but only for a short time, and it hurts. Lyra stared at the device. Use it, she said. I've hurt worse. He placed it behind her neck. It sparked. She screamed, not loud, but deep, like something breaking inside. And then, silence. The enemy ships spun in circles, confused. Their sensors lost the signal. Rin hit the boosters. The ship dove through a canyon, engines roaring like a beast unleashed. They escaped into the shadow of a gas giant. Thick clouds of color swallowed their trail. Inside, Lyra lay curled on the floor. "Are you okay?" Rin asked. She smiled weakly. "That's the first time I've escaped and not left a body behind." They landed hours later on a hidden moon, all forest and fog. A rebel hideout deep underground took them in. Old faces, tired eyes, but hearts still burning with purpose. A young rebel boy stared at Lyra with awe. "You're the ghost weapon, right?" She looked at him gently. "Not anymore." Later that night, Rin opened an old metal box in the ship's hold. "Wanted to wait," he said, handing her a small crystal drive. "But I think you've earned this." "What is it?" Lyra asked. "A message from the scientist who made you before he vanished." She plugged it into the screen. A man's face appeared. Older, kind eyes. Soft voice. "Lyra, if you're seeing this, then you lived. They told me you couldn't, that your mind would collapse. But I knew better. You weren't a weapon. You were my daughter. The Empire said I couldn't love what I built. But I did. I loved you." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "If you ever feel lost, remember this. They made your body. But your soul, that's yours. That's human." She closed the message, silent, breathing slowly. "I'm not a project," she said. "I'm not an experiment." "No," Rin replied. "You're someone's child." She nodded, then stood. "I'm done running." But far above, in orbit around the planet, a massive black ship uncloaked. Inside, a cold voice whispered, "Let her run, let her rise. It'll make crushing her even more satisfying." Asterisk's forest moon was quiet. Mist rolled over the ground like a sleeping breath. Above the trees, the stars blinked in silence, unaware of the war building beneath them. Lyra sat at the edge of a shallow lake. Her reflection stared back, calm, still, but not peaceful. Behind her, voices echoed in the rebel base. Plans, maps, weapons being loaded. The Empire was coming, and the rebels were preparing to die. She wasn't sure if she would let them, Commander. Rin approached, slow and careful. "I brought you food," he said. She didn't answer. He sat beside her, setting down the plate. "You haven't said much since the message." She looked at the water. "He called me his daughter. He meant it, but I'm not sure what that means." She picked up a small stone and threw it across the lake. It skipped twice before sinking. "I was built, grown, tested, modified. He gave me life, but didn't stop them when they hurt me." Rin nodded slowly. "He couldn't, but he gave you something they didn't want you to have. What choice?" Back in the rebel base, the commanders argued, "She's too dangerous. She's our only hope. She's just a child. She's the weapon we need." Lyra heard it all from the hall. She wasn't a person to them. Not really. She was a symbol, a tool, a gamble. She walked away. Later, she sat in the engine room again, the same spot she always returned to. Not because it was warm or quiet, but because it hummed like a heartbeat. She stared at her hand, watched the glow beneath the skin pulse. A memory rose like smoke. A lab, cold light too bright. Scientists watching, a boy across from her, scared. A voice neutralized the threat, her hand raised. The boy screamed, then silence. She flinched. That wasn't power. That was control. She didn't want that again. Rin found her hours later. "They've made their decision," he said. "We're evacuating, going dark." She looked up. "You mean hiding?" "Yes." "And what about the people still under control? It's the ones whose minds are trapped." He hesitated. "We don't have the tools to save them." "You have me." He sat down slowly. "We don't want to lose you." "I already lost myself once," she whispered. "I don't want to lose others too." He looked at her, eyes soft. Then what do you want? She stood. I want to choose. Not to fight because I have to, but because I decide to. She walked into the war room the next day. Everyone went quiet. She placed a crystal on the table, a copy of her DNA code, modified with rebel tech. This can break the mind control signal, but you need to get it to the towers. A commander asked, and who will protect the upload team? Lyra looked up. Her eyes glowed. I will. That night, she stood on the roof of the base, looking at the stars. Rin joined her. He handed her something small, a silver necklace. Inside, a piece of her creator's crystal, glowing faintly. He would have been proud, Rin said. She nodded. I'm not his weapon. I'm his daughter. And what will you be tomorrow? She looked up at the stars. Free. But above? The moon in the belly of the Empire's great warship. A man with silver armor stood facing a screen. Lyra's image flickered on it, alive. It's powerful. Prepare the mind net, he ordered. Let's see if she can resist us again. Back on the moon, Lyra closed her eyes. She could feel them coming. Hundreds, thousands, and deep in her chest. Where fear once lived, something else was growing. Not anger, not hate. Clarity, she didn't. Need to be saved, she didn't need to be controlled. She would not be a symbol, or a tool, or a ghost from a failed project. She would be one thing only, human. The sky above the moon turned black, not from night, but from ships. Empire war cruisers. Hunter drones, troop carriers, they came in silence, like the slow closing of a giant hand. And at the center of it all, floating like a god in orbit, was the mind net, the Empire's most secret weapon. One signal, one command. Millions of minds in chains, waiting. Lyra stood in the clearing. Alone, no armor, no weapon, just her glowing skin, silver eyes, and steady breath. Behind her, the rebel base was ready. Upload teams in position, ships prepared, encryption codes locked into place. If they could upload her DNA pattern to the mind net, the control signal would break. Minds would be free. The Empire would fall. But first, she had to hold the line. A voice echoed across the battlefield, not in sound, but in the mind. X-92. You were made by us. You are us. Come home. Lyra's voice replied, strong and clear. My name is Lyra, and I'm not coming home. I'm setting them free. The attack began. Hundreds of armored drones dropped from the sky, weapons firing. The ground shook, trees fell. Dust filled the air. Lyra raised her hand. The first wave never touched her. Their minds collapsed under her pressure, not dead. Broken, just. Still, she walked forward. Calm, focused. Drones circled her, but she didn't attack. She listened to the signal. To the pain of the controlled minds across the galaxy. And then, she reached out, not to destroy, but to connect back at the base. The data stream flickered. Upload at 74%, shouted the rebel tech. Signal stabilizing, but she's doing something else. She's overriding it. Commander Rin leaned forward. What do you mean? She's not just breaking the signal, she's rewriting it. Up above, on the Empire's warship, panic spread. She's turning the net inside out. A tech shouted. The system is echoing her thoughts. The silver-armored general stood frozen. No, she can't. But it was too late. Across the galaxy, soldiers dropped their weapons. Eyes widened. Slaves blinked as if waking from a long dream. Civilians gasped and wept. Factories stopped. Oh. Warships turned away. The control was gone. On the battlefield, the last drone powered down. It sat in the dirt like a lost child. Lyra dropped to her knees. Breathing hard, exhausted, she had not. Destroyed the mind net, she had spoken to it. Changed it. and it had listened hours later. The battlefield was silent. The Empire ships had vanished. The rebel base opened its doors. Crowds came out. Some cried, some cheered, some simply stood in awe. Lyra didn't stand at the center. She didn't give speeches. She walked quietly into the ship with Rin, holding the silver crystal in her hand. Days passed. The galaxy shifted. Governments changed. Statues fell. And in the background of every news screen, every whisper across the stars, was one name: Lyra. Some called her a savior, some a ghost. Some didn't believe she existed at all, but far away. On a quiet green planet near the edge of space, a small house stood by a lake. Inside, Lyra cooked breakfast. She laughed as a bird landed on the window. Outside, Commander Rin worked in the garden. No sirens, no missions, no war, just wind. Trees, peace. One evening, a young girl from the nearby village came to visit. She asked, "Are you really the girl who changed everything?" Lyra smiled. "No, I'm just someone who got tired of being told who to be." The girl looked confused. "Then who are you?" Lyra looked out at the sky. Not silver now, not glowing, just calm. "I'm someone with a name, a choice, and a life." And that was enough.